everyone, hope you're doing just fine. So today I'm gonna be showing you the second part of this machine, SSH Ninja. The first part was done by my friend on his video, SAD 484, and now I'll be covering the second part. Now just let me remind you of what we did on the first part. So first thing first, you need to run nmap. I did run nmap on both of these machines. Now let's go and see what's inside this first file, .3. We could see we have a web server which we had nothing on it, and then we found an SSH and then FTP as well in here. So basically what we did a user enumeration on this SSH, and we found a login and password with user. This is what we did, and we found the first flag. For example, let me go just in here, and we have found the first flag, which is local.txt, as you could see in here. As for the second flag for this machine, we did a root privilege, or we could like root access. Basically the first flag is like unprivileged access, and the second one is privileged escalation or root access. So what we did for the first machine in here, let me show you real quick. We went back, I went to the roots in here, and if we want to cut this proof we can't. So what we did is I did list all. We noticed that this SSH directory is owned by user. So basically what we did is we created our own key inside this SSH and added to the authorized keys so we could log in as a root. And this is like the other shell that when I'm logged out as root. Yes, and we could of course see what's inside this proof, and this was our second flag for this machine. Now I guess introductories were done. Now let's move on to the second machine. This one, let me show you for what we found in the nmap scan. Basically let me cut this 10.8.2, which was our machine in here, .2. But basically what we have an SSH. So we have an SSH open on this machine, and we need to have access to it. Our hint is we have to gain unprivileged access using the SSH. So basically there must be some misconfiguration to the machine. Now we move on to the second machine, which is the 10.8.0.2. In the first one, basically I'm just gonna have a look. Let me go to user in here and list all. You could see we have something in SSH in here. Let me get into it. Basically we have some stuff in here. We need to investigate what's inside in here, because the hint is we need to gain unprivileged access to find the first flag. My bad. So basically this is what we are going to do. Let me cut and see what's inside this id.rsa.public. We have some kind of a key in here. That's weird, right? So basically the hint, like I said, is we need to gain unprivileged access. We're using the SSH, and this was probably some misconfigured SSH. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and log in to this machine 10.8.0.2 with from the first machine, and this is what we call SSH tunneling. Let me go back in here. I'm just gonna do SSH-i to specify. I'm gonna use a file, which is this one, idrsa. Okay, basically I'm gonna use my private key because we have both, and I'm gonna specify user because I'm gonna log in as user at first, then we will see for the second part. 10.8.0.2 and yes, and yeah, we are inside. Let me show you, and let me go back and see. We have our local. Let's cut. Yes, we got the first flag of this machine. Let me just paste it in here and see. Yeah, we had the first flag. That we are inside the second machine and we had the first access with the unprivileged access like we found from some misconfigured SSH. Now our goal is to gain root access to find the second flag on this machine. Okay, let me show you. Now that I'm inside this one, you could see, if I see who am I, you could see that I'm just a simple user. So after looking around, I think that we need to mess around with the binaries. Basically, those binary files are some executable that basically are owned by the root, but sometimes the root may give some special access to any user to execute those files, and to do so there's something called the SUID, some special flag. When you look, for example, you list a file, you could see it has the S flag. Basically it means it has some special access, so anyone can execute it even if you are not root. So we will see how we can use that and how first of all we will find those binaries. Basically, to find those binaries you could use the following command: find from the roots directory permission where those files has that flag. Like I said, it's a special flag, it's the S flag, and dash type we will looking only for files, and this the final one is just to suppress any errors we get in our console, and click enter. So we had a lot of stuff in here. You basically need only to look around for the user bin, don't look or anything besides. And so these are all valid that has that flag. Let me show you how it looks so you could have a better understanding. But of course I'm gonna leave below some blocks to understand more about it. So you could see in here this is the S flag. But now the question is, we had like a lot of files that has that flag, but which one is it, the file that we could use to gain the root access? Well, to be honest, we can't for sure know, but there's like a big but in here. Basically, since it's like an easy machine, so it's gonna be pretty obvious, and in our case it's something that is not like, it's like out of the ordinary, because like most of these files are some like configuration files that we find on any Linux distribution. But if you look around very closely, you could see we have something in here. What time today? It's actually something out of the ordinary, because we don't have this what time today in any like Linux distro. So if I were you, I would look around and see if something out of ordinary, and then I could look around the basic ones, or like the binary files that we found on any distro. So like I said, let me go and see what this what time today does. Basically, first thing first, let's see if it has that binary or like that flag that like I said before. You could see we have it in here. And the binary files, what's like good about them is that you could run or execute them anywhere, because they are basically inside the path variable. This is like the next step, but first things first, let me just run this. So we run the binary file, and basically it gave us the date of today, I guess, even though it's not really accurate, but that's fine. Like the next command we could use is let me just go to user spin yes. I'm gonna use the second command called strings what time today and see some stuff. Basically this is like the scripts that when we run first, it gave us the date of today. This is basically French, and it runs some other file or some other binary called date. Now let's try and see what this date does. Let me run it, because basically you could run it. This is like what's good about binaries. They are inside the path variable, so you could run it anywhere. For example, let me go in here. I could still run date, you know. Now let me go back and run date again. Basically what it does is it gave us the date of today, and to know the path where this date lives, you could basically use the which command, which date, and this is basically the path where we have date. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do something called path hijacking to gain the root access, because this date is owned by roots. Let me show you. List all. I need, I guess, this. Let me copy, and you could see that it's owned by roots. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another date file, and in somewhere where I could, of course, I could read as a user or write as well, and I'm gonna change the path so when I run date, it's gonna run my date and not the date in this directory. Now let's go to some place where we could read and write as a user, because I'm still a user. Basically most people prefer temp, it's a good place, or you could use home and user directory. That's like up to you. I'm gonna go and use temp. Now that we are inside temp, we are going to create our date. I'm gonna just use this echo, so I'm gonna write inside of it. We just gonna bin bash, so basically we are running a bash. This is, and it's called date list. We have our date. Let's cut and see what's inside. Yes, that's correct. Now the next step is we need to make it executable, so change mod plus x, and if we list it, we could see we have date. Okay, cool. Let's run it. Good. Now if we still run this command, which date, we could see we have here bin date, but we want to use our date, this one that is in the temp directory. To do so, we are going to need to modify the path variable. So to do so, I'm just gonna export the path equal dash temp 2 points path. Basically I'm gonna add this path to the path variable. Enter. Now if we do which date, we could see we changed the path. Before we had the bin, what is it? We had the bin date, now it's temp date. The last thing we need to do is to run the what time binary, so that it run the date as well, and then we could gain the root access. Now let's see, run who am I. We could see that we are roots, and last thing we need now is just to get our flag, cut the proof.txt, copy the flag, and just paste it in here, and yeah, we finished the box. Yay, cool.